Okay, let's dive into this. When you hear the words trust fund, well, a very specific image probably pops into your head right away, right? But today, in this explainer, we're going to look at the actual hidden mechanics of extreme wealth. We're totally stripping away the gossip and those everyday assumptions, and we're looking directly at the architecture that the ultra-wealthy use to protect their empires. And honestly, it's fascinating. It's highly structured, and it operates completely differently than most people think.
So let's start by just shattering a massive stereotype. The myth tells the story of the silver spoon. You know, the spoiled kid buying a Lamborghini and just reckless overnight spending. But the reality is completely different. Trust funds are not actually designed to spoil anyone. They are meticulously crafted legal systems built for discipline at scale. We're talking about strict legal control and multi-generational wealth preservation. Basically, it's a system to ensure that the money someone earned, invested, and protected doesn't just vanish into thin air the moment it's handed down.
And you might be wondering, just how common is this structure? Well, it's a staggering 90%. Yeah, according to the data, more than 9 out of 10 people worth over $30 million have at least one trust fund in place. For the ultra-wealthy, this is absolutely not an afterthought. It is literally their very first line of defense, deployed the absolute second serious money enters the picture. Because honestly, making millions is kind of the easy part for these folks. Keeping it for more than one generation, now that is the real problem they're trying to solve.
To understand why they do this, we really have to look at a universal cultural problem. It's often called the shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations curse. And this isn't just an American concept either. Over in Scotland, they have a saying, the father buys, the son builds, the grandchild sells, and his son begs. It's this vicious cycle. The first generation works incredibly hard, rolling up their shirt sleeves to build the wealth. Then the second generation grows up wealthy, but, they kind of lose the skills required to maintain it. And the third generation? Well, they simply lose it all, ending up right back in the working class where their grandparents started out.
And this brilliantly illustrates just how terrifying the data behind that curse actually is, especially if you've spent your entire life building an empire. Studies show that wealthy families lose a massive 70% of their wealth by the second generation. And by the third generation, 90% of it is completely gone. Poof. This data is exactly why billionaires do not simply write a blank check and hand over cash to their kids. They know the statistics are completely stacked against them.
Because of this, even celebrities and athletes, people the public often just assumes might be a bit reckless with their fortunes, have gotten incredibly smart about using trusts to enforce strict financial discipline. Take Shaquille O'Neal, for example. He famously established a very strict boundary with his kids, telling them outright, I'm rich, we are not rich. He actually filters his endorsement deals, royalties, and properties through trusts to ensure his wealth isn't squandered by heirs who didn't put in the grueling work to earn it in the first place.
So how do you actually build this shield? It breaks down linearly into 3 crucial steps. Step 1 is creating the rulebook, officially known as the trust agreement. This is where you, the grantor, lay out exactly who gets what and under what conditions. Step 2 is appointing the enforcer, or the trustee. Think of them as a human firewall. It could be a lawyer, a bank, or a trusted individual with absolutely no emotional attachment. And their job is just to make sure the rules are followed. And step 3 is funding the vault, which means legally transferring your real estate, cash, stocks, or even intellectual property directly into the trust itself.
Now let's jump back to that rulebook for a second, because this is where billionaires get incredibly creative. The conditions they put on their heirs from beyond the grave are wildly specific and, yes, totally legally binding. You can write almost anything into a trust. You can say, hey, your heir only gets a $50,000 payout after they turn 30. Or you can offer a $100,000 bonus just for graduating college. You can cut off their access entirely if they get married without a prenup. You can even match whatever they earn in their own career, dollar for dollar. I mean, what a brilliant way to incentivize them to actually go out and work.
So now that we know how they work, let's kick off a fast-paced breakdown of the Billionaires toolkit. First up is the revocable trust. And just like it sounds, this one is highly flexible. You can change it, you can cancel it, or update it at any time while you're still alive. It is absolutely fantastic for avoiding the public mess of probate court and keeping your affairs totally private. However, there is a catch. Because you still maintain control over it, the government still considers those assets part of your taxable estate.
Let's move to and see how this builds into the ultimate tax-saving tool, the irrevocable trust. This is where the massive tax-saving trade-off really happens. Once this trust is created and funded, that's it. You cannot take it back. You are permanently surrendering ownership. But because those assets are legally no longer yours, they are no longer taxable when you pass away. This is the ultimate go-to strategy the wealthy use to legally shield their fortunes from future estate taxes.
Next, we have the spendthrift trust. Think of this as the ultimate financial safeguard. If you have an heir who, well, let's be honest, simply cannot be trusted with a giant lump sum of cash, this is exactly what you use. Instead of handing over a massive inheritance that they might just blow in a single weekend in Vegas, this trust provides carefully controlled, limited payouts over time. It completely protects the principal wealth from their reckless spending habits or, even their future creditors.
Now, have you ever wondered why almost every single billionaire has a charitable foundation? Enter the Charitable Remainder Trust. Here's how it works. You put your money into this trust, and it gets invested. The returns from those investments pay you a fixed stream of income for the rest of your life. And when you die, whatever is left goes directly to charity. It is a brilliant structure. It allows the wealthy to generate simultaneous lifetime income, build a lasting philanthropic legacy, and get massive tax deductions right up front. Speaking of taxes, we really need to introduce the ultimate villain of our story here, the U.S. estate tax. If you don't use these trust structures, well, this is exactly what's waiting for you. The government taxes estates worth over $13.6 million at a brutal 40% rate. 40%. That means when you pass away, the government steps in and legally collects almost half of what you have spent your entire lifetime building. No way you want that, right? So the crucial point is how the wealthy legally avoid that massive 40% hit. And they do it through a brilliant concept called freezing asset values. Imagine you have a company worth $1 million today, but you know for sure it's going to grow to $10 million. If you put that company into an irrevocable trust right now, your estate is only ever taxed on that initial $1 million. When the company eventually skyrockets to $10 million down the road, that $9 million of growth belongs to your heirs completely tax-free. To actually execute this freeze, billionaires often use a GRAT, or Grantor Retained Annuity Trust. This is a highly calculated exploit. Basically, you put a highly appreciating asset, something like pre-IPO stock, into the trust. You then receive annual payments back for a set number of years. But here's the kicker. Any massive investment growth above a specific low interest rate automatically passes to your heirs, completely tax-free. If the investments explode in value, you've successfully funneled millions in gains to your family, legally leaving the IRS with almost nothing. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the stark contrast between those who prepare and those who don't. Take the Walton family, the founders of Walmart. They have flawlessly preserved over $600 billion across 3 generations using a complex, carefully prepared web of trust funds. On the other hand, we have the legendary musician Prince. Tragically, he died completely unprepared, without even a basic will, let alone a trust fund. And the result? Years of brutal court fights, massive amounts of wasted money, and absolute legal chaos for his family. Which brings us to the final thought I want to leave you with today. The world of trusts is undeniably complex, but understanding it really shifts your perspective. A trust fund isn't just some tax loophole for the elite, and it certainly isn't a social flex. It is a shield. So the real question isn't whether you have $30 million sitting in the bank today. The question is, what are you building right now that is worth protecting? Because once you build something truly valuable, you need to make sure the effort you put in today still matters decades after you're gone. Think about it. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep building.